Okay, that does not look good. Welcome back to DMOT Garage. We're back on the 54 Barndoor single cab, and in the last episode you saw Sebastian doing some spraying on the front end. We're sort of continuing with the primer, filler, going over all the imperfections. I've been working on the engine lid off camera, and I will show you guys what I have been doing. I'm doing it outside just to keep the dust out of the shed, but you can see here this has been pretty much, we had the fibre fill on first and then a skim coat of filler, and this has been blocked back with 36 grit, so you can see it's quite sharp, and we've got a guide coat on it. Now we're going to hit it with 80 grit on the orbital, and that should smoothen it out, and then we'll see what sort of little imperfections show themselves, and then we can start to go through the grades, 180 and then 320 and 600, and then it'll be ready for paint. So let's do a bit of sanding and get the dust flying, hey? Okay, let's have a bit of a look at it, and it's always good to, have a good close inspection, especially this morning light that we've got here. It just casts a shadow over the side of the panel, so you can really see the imperfections a lot better than lights that are coming straight on top of it. We use a similar method when we're shaping surfboards. If you ever see a surfboard shaping room, they always have fluorescent lights on the sides, and it casts a shadow over the board, and immediately you pick up any imperfections, lumps, bumps, whatever. Overhead lighting will not show a lot of it up. So this lighting is actually really good in the morning. You can just sort of go over the panel and see what you missed. So it's pretty good. Seems to be pretty flat. We're really just trying to get these 36 grit scratches out now, so the 80 grit has taken most of it. What you do need to be careful of, especially with the Viber, if you spend too long, you'll start to dig holes, because you've obviously got bare metal popping up in a few spots, so you've just got to be mindful of that. Now, I can see right there's that issue where the guide coat has stayed behind, and straight away, if I run my hand over that, we've got a low spot right there. Now, I might be able to just tap that out. Yes, I think I can. So we'll just see if we can knock that out without it having to go back and add filler to it. Let's have a go. Done. So that's no filler, which is great. Now, we might just get some 80 grit paper on the hand and just go over some of these little areas that we can't get with the orbital. Now, the next thing we've got to do is just remove the bog or the filler around that little indentation there. So we might have to just do that. I'll just see if we can do it with the Dremel maybe. We'll see. Might be a bit aggressive. Yeah, I'll try the Dremel just with a little drum sander on it. Okay, that's done the job. Nice. Just got a nice little indentation there. I mean, obviously it's going to be covered, but well, actually, I think the lip section there might not be covered. Anyway, it's done. We'll move on to some 180 grit now. So the rest of it's actually pretty flat. Yeah, just this little spot here. We'll see if we can knock that out from the back as well. I don't know. Oh, it's actually, yeah, it's where the weld's be. It's actually pulled it. So we might not be able to knock that down. I don't think so. All right. So the next thing we're going to do, put a couple of heavy coats of primer on this. And again, then we can stand back and look at the picture, see what needs to be done after that. But it does feel, from the hand, pretty flat. So I don't feel anything that's rearing its ugly head. Normally by 180 you can feel it if you're going to be filling stuff, but you know, you won't know until you block it back later. Yeah, all right, we'll get the primer gun ready and get a coat of primer on it. Okay, so interesting, I've got some issues with the spray gun. I'm losing pressure really fast through the line, so you can see I just couldn't get the material onto the panel, so I'll have to pull that gun apart and have a look, but could be the line, could be something blocked in the line, but yeah, it's having some issues. I'll have to go and check out my air system, go from there. But let's have a look at the panel, and now that you have a coat of primer on it, you can see whether or not we have issues. And I can see a few. Obviously there's some deep scratches here that we didn't get out. There's a bit of a weird lumpy bit just there that we might have to take care of, and another one just there too. That is all perfect. Up along the top and there is perfect. These, a little bit of an imperfection there. Scratch, little lumpy bit just up there. So yeah, you can really now notice everything, what's going on. So probably just a bit of stop putty on these scratches will take care of that. We might have to just block this section here back and see what that's all about. That looks like a high to me. And again, same here, there's something just weird going on there. It looks like a bit of a bumpy, lumpy bit. So we might block that back and probably have to tap it down and add a bit more filler. But that's all right. I mean, you guys remember how bad this was when I started with it. Not bad at all. Now the backside, there's a few little spots we've got to clean up here. There's a hole there that we missed, so we'll have to fill that up. And the rest of it's not too bad. I might even actually put some seam sealer along that edge there where I had tacked. You can see the little tacks that look a bit crappy, so we might just block all that or just fill it actually. I think it'd probably be easy to seam seal it. But the back's looking pretty good. Remember, you are seeing both sides of the panel, so little imperfection just there that we have to take care of. The rest of it's pretty good, so that's all right. We'll let that dry off and then we can address the fine little detailed issues and go from there. Okay, one of the next things we need to do while that primer is drying on the engine lid is we've got to do some seatbelt mounts. Now, we have put in the very top ones on the B-pillars up in the corners up there. We've done those. We need to now do the ones that are here. So there's going to be a plate here. I do have the plates already cut out. These are 3mm by 80 by 50, which is the Australian standard for seatbelt mounts. So we're going to weld a nut on the back side of the plate, and then this is going to be spot welded behind the floor, just probably about there underneath. So we have to get those mounted, and then we have to do another two inside down there on the floor. So we have to put two in down there and two over here. So that's going to be our mounts for our seatbelt. So we'll go and TIG weld the nuts into position. So we'll go and take this over to the bench and get set up. Okay, so we are set up for the TIG. You can see I've got the plate, drilled a hole in it. I've got the proper nut which is the 5/16, I think it is, U and F. So we're just going to pop that on here and place it in the middle. Okay, let's get these nuts welded on. When you actually tack one side and you don't go around to the other side quick enough, you can see that the nut's actually lifted off the surface. So if I was to go and weld that, it would end up being crooked. So we're going to go and have to press that back with the vise or clamp it. And it's only tack, so it's not even hot. But we'll take the bolt out. I might just actually put a clamp on it. We'll see how do it. I'll just put a clamp on it. Probably should have clamped it onto the bench before I started, but that's all right. That is, you know, welding does create a lot of pulling. So once it's tacked, don't need the clamp anymore. Add a few more tacks around it now, and then we're good to go. There you go, you can see that's what we're doing. Just putting some little beads around it. And that's all you need. It's not going to come off now, so we can put that aside and we'll get the other one welded up and we can go and get them installed under the ute. Righto, so we have our mounting plates ready to get welded in. We're just going to basically spot weld or plug weld with the TIG actually, just these 4 holes, which is obviously going to hold the plate from up underneath. I've got a central bolt just having it all tight. You can actually have a look underneath and you can see where the plate is up under there, and you can see I've still got to weld a couple of spots here. Haven't quite finished under here, but I want to get this thing up on the hoist and do a bit more work underneath these or this area. So anyway, let's TIG this into position and go from there. Okay, so once the primer has dried, we've gone back over a couple of those little imperfections. Now, we had some highs, which I have tapped down with the hammer and just gone and put some filler back into those spots again. And hopefully that will be it for this. We'll just give it another coat of primer, sand it back with 180, 320, and it's ready for paint. Now, on the back side, I also have just been going around with the fiberglass filler anywhere where it kind of just looked a little bit messy and not nice. So that is done too, which is excellent. And then we can continue on once that's dried, and we've got like 6 degrees. I'm going to have to shut the door in a minute and put the heater on because it's just absolutely freezing today. Well, freezing for us down here anyway. Right, next. Seatbelt mounts. I can quickly show you those that have been done. You can see there's our bolt, and we've just ground back the welds on both sides down there. Now we also have the middle mount to make, so we're going to get onto that and get that welded in as well. Okay, so we're on to the passenger's door now. Now this one obviously was the door that came with the single cab, but it isn't a barn door side door, hence why we did the modification around the handle. It was a bit beat up. We obviously, in a previous episode, welded this bottom section in. We're just sort of going to go over. We've got it pretty good already, but it will need a little bit of filler on some of these spots here where we knocked them out. So yeah, we'll get it, probably just vibe it back, and then we can start to, because it's still got the phosphoric acid on there, and that does need to be neutralised. So we will wipe it down and give it a bit of a vibe back with some 80 grit, and then we can start doing our body work to the door. So we'll go and grab the sander and get cracking. So that's taken care of that. We have to put some glue on the back of it, but basically the back frames were away from the panel. So that's made it quite solid now, just by pushing on them. But we will glue those, so that'll just hold it a bit more rigid. Alright, so the back side here's got some work to do on the back here. There's a bit of rust along here that we've got to take care of. This needs a couple of holes welded up. So we might have to pull the welder out and just go over a few little spots here. And then we continue. Righto, let's get some fibril light put on the low areas.
$2,000 later.
Righto, so a little bit more progress on this passenger side door. We've gave it a skim coat of filler, sanded that back with 36, and then of course we had a couple of low spots where you can see I've just applied some more filler to the low spots. We will go back over that again with the 36 grit on the power file, and then transfer to 80, and hopefully that's it, and we can just start taking it down to 180 grit and then get it ready for a coat of high build primer. So that's the progress on the door. We also need to work on the driver side door, which is the BBC, the one that had the little BBT, well, it's the BBT door, I suppose, but I've gone and put that patch panel in it where the door handle is. So we need to also give that a little bit of love. And yeah, that's that part done. The engine lid is in its final guide coat, you can see here. And that really now just needs a hand sand, probably the Viber with 180, and then down to 320, and that should be ready for top coat down the track when we're ready. Once these panels are done, I think we're going to start moving our focus to getting the single cab off the frame, which means we're going to just use the old gearbox to put it onto some wheels. I did actually repair the spring plates, and I did this off camera. These were the ones that were cut in half by some muppet instead of taking them apart. You can see I TIG welded them back together on both sides. Now this is just a temporary fix. We're not going to be obviously running these. They're not spring steel, they are just normal mild steel, so I could actually use the boss here and cut around that with the plasma cutter and go and get another piece of steel, get this laser cut out to the right thing, but it's too much work. It's just easy for me to go and grab another couple of spring plates off a later model splitty, considering that we are going to be running a Beetle gearbox, and this is the pattern we want, so I can use that as a template. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be running it with the fact that I've gone and welded them together, but you know, it's sad because they are Barndoor spring plates and they are quite rare, but that's the reality of it. But we'll use these just temporary to get the old gearbox in it. Front beam, we are going to put some adjusters in the middle of it, but we're not going to be flipping the spindles because I'm not sure if a lot of you guys know, but you can't actually flip a Barndoor spindle like you can on a later model split screen. These cannot be flipped and run. So the other option people do is they use Beetle spindles and they flip those and machine spaces and do that, but I'm not really liking that idea. I think what we're going to do is run the original spindles, just refurbish those, run them as they are, and then we're going to just put some adjusters in it to lower the front. Whether that gets it in the ballpark, we don't know. We'll have to come to that down the track and we'll see what other options we have. So let's continue. Okay, so we're going to give the beam arms a sandblast. I've put some new media in. It's actually this garnet. It's like a black garnet, so it will be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, I am not going to sandblast this area because these are where the bushes are going to run. So we will just tape up those critical surface points and just blast these areas here. We want to just get that cleaned up. Then we can get moving on the beam as well and get it all painted in epoxy and go from there. Okay, out of the sandblasting cabinet, and we've got a coat of black ceramic satin on it. And you can see there, they're all done, looking nice and schmicko. And what we'll probably do once this is dried, this section here, we'll just put it over the buffer and polish up these surfaces that are going to have the bushes rubbing on them, because we want them to be nice and flat and smooth and shiny. So we'll get those done once the paint dries. Next thing will be onto the beam, and I think the beam will probably fit in the sandblaster. It's just it's got those big arms coming off it, and they're obviously welded on, so yeah, that could be a bit of a problem, but maybe it'll fit. We'll see. I'll take out the torsion leaves, they're probably called, get those out of there, and then we can give the whole thing a clean inside. It's going to have so much grease and gook inside it. I might even just fill them up with some diesel outside, and then gurney out the centres. And go from there. Now, one thing I haven't done yet, these 3 bolts here, which obviously once the beam goes into its position right here, that strut runs underneath here and then it comes up into the chassis. I forgot to put the bolts in, didn't I? Which is now going to be, I can show you right here, those 3 bolts have to live right about here somewhere. And because this rail was put in later, I didn't put them in, so I think they actually live about here somewhere. Anyway, it's not a big deal. It just means I'll put those in once we have the ute up on the hoist, and I can get to it easier once it's off the table. So I think for now we'll just put it into position through these bolts here and go from there. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, we are on to getting these front drums off the spindles. I've done one already and got the backing plates off it, ready to sandblast it. We also have these finished up. I gave these a bit of a polish up just so this surface is nice and smooth. So they're ready to go. But yeah, we've got to pull this whole thing apart, and I don't think it's going to be very easy because it's been sitting out in the elements for I don't know how many years, probably quite a few. So let's get the cap off and try and get the drum off. My method of attack, give it a bit of a tappy. And then I put this on. And a lot of the times you can just make sure the vise doesn't fail. Like that. Yeah, as I suspected, she's rusted pretty damn good. Okay, that does not look good. Oh man. Right. I don't like our chances getting this thing off in a hurry.
Butter hook.
I'll get a container. Just going to start putting all the bits and pieces in. I ran out of my shop gloves, so I'm wearing these chemical ones. Which is better than nothing, I suppose. Oh wow, yeah, we're gonna be. I'm putting this on because I don't even see. Oh no, it's got a lock nut. It's got the lock tab on it, I should say. You can get it off. Okay, that one should. Let's see how we're going to get that off. We might try the rattle gun. See if I've got a big enough socket.
Yeah? No.
Right, I gave it a good old whack with a hammer and we've got it loose, but we'll see how we go with the second one. Yeah, the Penetrine WD-40's done its job. I want to try to keep that because it's probably reusable. Okay, let's go for the second one. I want to go that way. Give it a tap. Once it gets up to the top up here, it'll be okay. The threads are a bit cleaner. There we go. Wow. I'm really hoping the spindle's going to be okay. For it to be this rusty, we'll see what happens to the bearings are going to be shot for sure. No washer. Oh yeah. You just got to keep soaking it in. Yeah, I wouldn't think that this is going to come off easy. I don't want to have it like that. A lot of this just needs shocking. It doesn't rotate at all, so I'd say internally it's seized. Now I do have a puller, can't get to the back side of it because of the lip on here. So I've got to come up with a plan. I'll bring you back in when I've got a plan here. Okay, well, after about 25 minutes of beating with a sledgehammer, have a look at this. Man, did that take a long time to get off. It completely destroyed the brake shoe, and I think half the components on the inside were disintegrated. That's what's left of a oh wow, that's a needle bearing. Oh my god, wow. Okay, let's have a look at the damage in here. Yeah, so I mean this thing was just completely seized up. The only way I could get it apart was to bolt on a rim. You can see what I've done there. I put an inner section of a rim on there and then just literally put it on the ground on top of the timber there and just whack the absolute bejesus out of it. You can see around here, and it just slowly started to creep down. I don't know if the spindles, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Pretty bad, but the shoe's obviously completely disintegrated, which is a shame because they are going to be difficult to find. I don't know whether Barndoor brake shoes are the same as later splitty ones. We'll have to find out. I know definitely these aren't. They will have to get re-sleeved with a stainless sleeve in them because I had to do that on the ambulance, as you guys know. So that'll be another trip down to the brake specialist and he sends them away to get them done. Wow, this is some serious damage. I think this was just completely fused on the inside of the drum. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll clean up the mess here and get these things pulled apart. I really just want to get the spindles rebuilt so that we can put them onto the beam and then, you know, be able to get this thing onto its wheels. So let's continue with the mess. Righto, we have another little skim coat of filler just in that little section there because there was still a bit of a low. So that's, yeah, almost ready for sanding. And while I was waiting for that to go off, I started pulling the spring pack out of the Barndoor beam, just using a couple of rods, and we'll whack them out with a hammer. And interesting, they're sitting right here. The bottom leaf pack has 5 and the top has 4, and you can see they're a lot thicker, which is very interesting. I've never seen that before. Now, one potential issue I can see is if you look at the spring pack towards the end there, they're actually got a twist in them. You can see it right there. See how they're actually twisted pretty badly too. So this side here has a very slight twist going that way too. That one seems to be okay, but it's definitely twisted up that end. So I don't know how that is going to impact the suspension on it. I mean, none of the leaves are broken, but they do need to be welded back together. You can see the ends here have just separated, which that's quite common. That happens a lot. The bushes, unfortunately, are completely gone. You can see the remnants of that one. And the ones over here are completely clapped out too. So that was to be expected, to get new internal bushes for it. One more thing, and that's the centre pin here. And this is solid. So I don't know about that one. I think we might have to... I can see some brass bushes there. We'll see if we can knock the pin out. I don't like our chances on that one. Anyway, we're going to have to free that up. I would imagine probably put some new bushes in there as well. This thing is going to get a sandblast, and then we're going to have to order some adjusters for here and get those put in too. So I'm not sure how much travel we're going to, or how much lowering we're going to be able to do with just the adjuster. Time will tell. Let's continue getting this thing cleaned up.
2 hours later.
Righto guys, a little bit more progress on this door. We've pretty much, well, the other side's done. That just needs a few coats of primer. We just had a little bit of surface rust on the back side here, so I've put some phosphoric acid on there and also just cleaned up the edge here with a bit of Fibril Light just on these areas that need it. And that's going to be it. Then I can actually hit this whole door with some primer and move on to other bits and pieces. While this has been doing its thing drying, I've just been going back and forth on the cab, just cleaning up a little bit more in here. You can see a little bit more sanding and a bit more filler. And again, up on the top there, I want to get a coat of primer on this section and up in there too, and the dashboard. So there's a little bit of filler work I've been doing on the dash. Yeah, it's just, you know, fiddly work, just going back and forth. Just that's what happens now. You got to keep going back and forth and keep moving along. It's starting to get cold and dark, and I'm getting hungry. I will see you guys in another episode on the 54. Stay funky. You.